That's good. Ooh. Can somebody turn on the light? Ooh, there's a, how's that? Is that better? Why is there that, okay, how's that? Is that better? Could that be? I'm mute. Okay, how's that? Is that good? Can you hear me? All right, yeah, okay, good. Could you turn on the light, please? So I can see. And maybe we can chant the, if you pass out the sutra books, that'd be great. And can you chant the opening line? Okay. Page 2. Gatha on opening the sutra.
Gatha on opening the sutra.
The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Gatha's true meaning. I'll take it out, but that's okay. Okay. I won this cup in a raffle. This nice blue cup. Wow, it's day 3 and I'm feeling really great, actually. I don't know how you all are feeling, but from about the 3rd day on, for me anyway, it feels good to just kind of, the first day, actually the first day I was listening to Roshi's talk and he said it was rough for him. For me, it was not so rough. Because I think I started Natalie Goldberg's intensive winter writing retreat last Wednesday. I signed up for it a while ago, and I thought, oh boy, this week is going to be really busy. I don't know if that was a wise thing to do, but it was really good actually, because we sat. I didn't catch all the sittings, but the schedule was like this. We started at 11 to 11:30. We sat for half hour. This is for 5 days, a 5-day from Wednesday to Sunday. And then there was half an hour of rest. And then 12 to 3, she gave a teaching where we also wrote a lot. 10-minute writes. She would give us a topic and we'd write. Sometimes she'd have people read it, and many times not. And then in the afternoon, after 3, at 5 o'clock, there was another hour of 2 10-minute writes. And then we broke up into groups and we read. And she has some really strong guidelines, like when you read, you can't, other people have to just listen, no feedback. Thank you is the most people can say, which is really kind of nice actually, because she's it's a way where you're not looking for praise, which I think is important in terms of building your own backbone, right? That you know you're enough. You don't need somebody else to tell you that you're enough. So it's really wonderful. And then 8 o'clock in the evening for half an hour, another sit. I didn't make all those sits, but I did make all of the 12 to 3, but I did as many as I could because I was busy that week. Wednesday night, there was a hula school party to celebrate the wonderful events of the hula school, raising $16,000 for Lahaina at a performance in October. Pizza and, just watching the performance again. We had it recorded. And then Saturday night was our dinner here. We had to postpone it because of the leak in the basement, which left the basement kind of a mess. It was like cluttered mine down there, totally cluttered mine, and dust everywhere, kind of this black dust, and just clutter because of inattention, right? But added on to that, the sewer leak got fixed and new pipe and dust. And so Monday, was that 2 days ago, we have had what we call many hoonies in a way in Hawaiian. They're little folks who get a lot done. They're short, and they usually do a project in one day because there's a whole bunch of people working together, and they finish a huge, like they build fish ponds, and a lot of things. Anyway, it is so much better now that we've had Carlene, Sky, and Renata working down there. Oh, and Anne was there. She's working after lunch because she has a different schedule. And so it is so beautiful down there, and you can breathe. I put on the air, purifier. I just thought of it. Yeah, why didn't I use that? Anyway, so I did. And it feels really good, just like I feel right now after 2 days of just kind of cleaning by letting go of seeing a lot of thoughts come through and noticing and just letting it be, and they just kind of disappear. Who knows where they go, right? Into the great emptiness. They arise from emptiness and they leave in emptiness, and they're not so solid. Anyway, it's like that downstairs. It's so beautiful down there right now. Thank you. So during the retreat, Dorotea Mendoza, who's Filipina, she helps Natalie. She's Natalie's assistant. And she, in one of the writing sessions that she leads from 5 to 6, had this quote by Ikkyu, who's a 15th century Zen master. And it's from a book, his book, Crow with No Mouth. Crow with no mouth. Don't worry, please, please. How many times do I have to say it? There's no way not to be who you are and where. Don't worry, please, please. How many times do I have to say it? There's no way not to be who you are and where. So I jotted down some things. Natalie is a longtime practitioner. She started with Katagiri Roshi in Minnesota, and practiced long and hard with him, and then became this writing meditation teacher. She says, resistance is natural, but you can use it. Resistance is natural, but you can use it. What does that mean, right? What? Okay, well, the resistance to even just doing zazen, sitting, it's natural, but you can use it as an awareness practice, kind of opening to the resistance, opening instead of just going with it, which is sometimes the easier thing to do. That's why it's called resistance. And she goes, she's teaching a practice. She says, the practice it means to shut up and show up. Shut up and show up. That's her practice. I like that. It's just down to earth. Right. Shut up and show up. And she says, writing is 90% listening. Just open and listen. Isn't that so in tune with the practice of zazen? Zazen is listening. You might not want to hear what's coming up, but that's also the practice, showing up and listening. And big part of the practice is letting go. Letting go. So just like Zazen, she talks about writing as a way to get a relationship with our minds. Right? We're just writing what's coming up and just noticing what's there. A lot of times she doesn't know what's coming out, but she's just writing it down. She's trying to let go of shoulds and should nots as she opens. Again, no judgment, right? Letting go of good and bad. Just keep the hand moving is what she said. Right in the margins, kind of let go of rules, right? Those are her 2 guidelines. Just keep the pen moving for whatever minutes you set and write all over the page, kind of freeing your mind. Right, and with that relationship of the mind, she says it can be unbearable, but use that energy in the writing. Use that energy. Right, unbearable, unbearable. Keep your hand moving. So one of the topics was give voice to monkey mind. So you're giving yourself permission to write, she says, the worst shit in the world. You're really just giving yourself permission. So give voice to monkey mind. I know you might want to try it during the practice of immediacy. Right? Just give it voice and let her rip. She says, let it rip. She was talking about falling in love with an author, you know, somebody you really love. Just fall in love, read everything about that author has written, read it a couple, 2, 3 times, what you love. She says the only thing that makes you part of the lineage is effort. The writing lineage she's talking about. But it could be in any lineage. Our zazen, our practice here, it's effort. We're sitting on the cushion. That takes effort. Unless you're falling asleep all the time. That's another kind of, zazen. Yeah, so very much is true for my hula lineage. I have to do effort to get that together every time. Effort, effort. She says, speak the truth of your life and what goes on. These are our precepts. Do not lie. Speak the truth of your life and what's going on. What is it to be a human being? What is it to be you? So Ikkyu, again, there's no way to not be who you are and where. But, just like our basement, it can get pretty cluttered and you don't know where anything is. You can't even see where anything is. She mentioned one of the books that she's read. It's by Colum McCann, and the title is A Paragon. A Paragon, Aperogon. And it's about an Israeli father and a Palestinian father. It's a novel that came out before the most recent conflict. And when I went to look for the book on Amazon, it's pretty cool. They list what 2,215 Kindle readers had highlighted. I didn't know they kept track of that, but they can now. Everything's so electronic. This is the sentence they highlighted, 2,000 people. Yesterday, I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today, I am wise, so I have begun to change myself. I'll read that again. 2 sentences. Yesterday, I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today, I am wise, so I have begun to change myself. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I got the book on my Kindle. I'm going to read it on the break after session. So yesterday was a really busy day also for me. I've been kind of prepping for it. Ruben came to pick me up, my hula student, at 10:20. And right before that, everything was, you couldn't park on Lake Street. There were all these little white signs saying no parking from whatever. Linda goes, nobody can park out there. It's a mess. Anyway, it wasn't too bad because really, it was only Renata that had to find a parking place. But what they were doing is they were cutting down dead branches from the trees on Lake Street, which was really nice. And they had a huge machine, that gobbles up the branches and makes it stuff. This huge noise. I was like, oh, this noise. I'm like, I don't, Ruben's supposed to pick me up. But then I also thought, I bet just before he comes, they would have moved on. And sure enough, that's what happened. And so he had space. He could pick me up. I had a bunch of stuff. We went to Weigel Productions in Chicago. They produce this, it's called Tune, Toon, Tune In With Me. It's Toon from cartoons, and Toonie is this hand puppet that looks like something like a Muppet. And it's a national show that they show cartoons from the 60s and 70s, which I used to love. Anyway, I was addicted, I think, to those cartoons. Anyway, so we went there, and Bill, who's the host with Toonie, the Muppet, interviewed me briefly, and we did some hula. So this is going to be on national TV sometime. And they had Melikaliki Maka, which is Merry Christmas, in red. The set looked beautiful. I had made new skirts that were, very nice. Anyway, so, we're gonna be, so that's what I was doing yesterday, and I came back and I only mentioned that because, there's a lot of things going on in our lives, right? And I just, without the practice, I would be kind of a mess. I don't know, I would probably, well, anyway, I would be a mess without the practice. I am grateful for the practice in helping me to do so many different things. So let me get to a topic that I think is really up for people. And there were two articles in Lion's Roar last year in November, that issue, one by Pema Chodron and the other by Norman Fisher. And Pema Chodron's title for her article was From Suffering to Awakening, 3 Ways to Transform Your Emotions. And that's adapted from one of her books, How We Live is How We Die, by Pema Chodron. And Norman Fisher's article was, I Feel It Too, Disturbed, but Not Disturbed. So the Buddha called, these intense negative experiences of discomfort, heavy emotions like anger or fear, called those experiences kleshas, which I think Roshi mentioned on Monday, kleshas. So in Sanskrit, it means destructive emotions or pain-causing emotions. And the fundamental source of these emotions are the 3 poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance, or attachment, aversion, delusion. They've been called that as well. So They generally start small, and if you don't nip them in the bud, they get humongous. So this craving or attachment becomes, a little bit is okay, but they become destructive when it gets to the point of being an addiction or an obsession. Aggression or aversion, right? We want to get rid of something because we think it's a threat to our well-being. Aggression or aversion. Ignorance or delusion. And Pema Chodron said this is a dull, indifferent state of mind that actually contains a deep level of pain. It's interesting, huh? A dull, indifferent state of mind that actually contains a deep level of pain. And it can express itself as being out of touch, being mentally lethargic, not caring what we're feeling or what others are going through. When this state of mind dominates us, it can turn into a depression. So these are full blown. So the idea is transforming the kleshas, seeing it, and then doing something about it. So Pema Chodron gave three things you can do as an antidote to try and work with these kleshas. The first thing is simply recognize what is happening. Oh, I saw that person again and I am getting mad. Okay, so you have to recognize it, right? Because a lot of times you don't notice it or you just ignore it, right? Okay. And so you don't see it, it's an ember stage, ember. And then by the time it turns into a fire, it's too late. I mean, you're like, out of control, basically. So a way to simply recognize what is happening is to drop into your body. Drop into your body and start with noticing what are the physical sensations going on. What are the physical sensations going on? And that's a good access point into emotions. Notice how your body is feeling, which again may not be pleasant. But if you want to transform a klesha, you got to do this, I'm sorry to say. The second, bring your attention to where you are right now. Where am I? Right here. My feet are on the floor, on the ground. Okay. Stay present with the energy without acting out or repressing. So right there, because Norman Fisher had a really wonderful way of putting, because you don't want to repress yourself as much as possible because, or you don't want to repress your feeling because you want to be like a rational human being that's open and aware of what's going on around you. If there's pain in the world, you want to feel it. If you need to cry, you have to cry. That's part of being human. But can you be disturbed without being disturbed? Can you have an attitude of curiosity and openness rather than judgment to what's going on, to what you're feeling? Like, noticing judgment that arises. Oh, I should not be feeling this way. I'm so bad. Can you notice that, and can you let it go? Really just being curious, like, wow, I wonder why this is here. It's here. It's okay, it's here, and wow, that's it. Bringing this attitude of curiosity. And the third thing she says is be kind to yourself. If you're doing those first two things, that is a practice of kindness to yourself. They all kind of go together. Be kind to yourself. And Pema says, I've discovered that when I've allowed myself to feel what I feel, I become more patient with myself and more forgiving. Isn't that beautiful? If you allow yourself to feel your feelings, letting go of any judgment, because it'll come up, you become more forgiving, more patient with yourself, which is kindness embodied. Each time she does this, I find myself able to relax with the feeling a little longer. So you might just stay a little while and then go to something else. But each time you're lengthening the time you can be with it. And that is helping to transform, letting the feeling run its course and transform. What is it? The vow we do, delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. This is our vow as bodhisattvas. And then she says, and here's the thing, while kleshas cause pain, the klesha energy itself is a limitless source of creative power. Isn't that beautiful? While kleshas cause pain, the klesha energy itself is a limitless source of creative power. So you don't want to get rid of that. She says it's like an electric current. It's not something you want to get rid of. It's like an electric current. The trick is to stay present with that energy without acting out or repressing. Learning to do this, you might find out something remarkable. In the basic energy of the kleshas, we find wisdom, ungraspable, egoless wisdom, free of grasping and fixation. So it takes courage to do this practice, right? To feel what we feel. And she gives a practice to generate this courage called compassionate abiding. First, on the in-breath, we open to the feelings as if opening our arms to a loved one. Breathe in the difficult emotions. On the out-breath, we give the feelings limitless space as if sending them into the vast blue sky. Tonglen, right? And then in addition to doing this, breathing in of the difficult emotions, she says we can use it to contemplate that other people are having the same feelings, not only me. And it helps to have a daily, she says, meditation practice to be able to do this, because it's not easy. But this is how you transform kleshas. And so for me, when I do zazen, like Monday especially, the first day, it's shamatha, it's one pointed attention. I'm really focusing on my breathing. And I'm trying to breathe actually from my belly, actually. Inhale and exhale. And posture is important too. Dogen talks about posture a lot. So, and the other thing Natalie was mentioning is notice your chin, because if your chin, so check in with the chin, if it's up there, you're most likely daydreaming. So just bring it in as if you're holding a little orange or a little apple under here, and it's pulling the crown up, by your hair, pulling that up. And it kind of straightens for me anyway, it straightens my windpipe, so I actually can breathe a little easier as well. And she was also saying, notice your jaws, relax your jaws, just notice and breathe. And a good way I've found to do that, now these are techniques, so you try and see if it works for you. If it doesn't, let go. Is like breathing into the area, like inhaling as if your jaw was breathing in and as if your jaw was breathing out. Same thing for any place that you find tension in your body. Just breathe. Again, it's really a breathing practice. So again, Pema Chodron is saying one of the most important ways to work with our emotions is to use them as a path of awakening or opening, or maybe waking up, realization. Again, it's allowing ourselves to experience the energy of the kleshas fully and directly, because we really want to learn, what is this emotion in me? What is it? And then instead of putting it in a category of good or bad, just try to intimately know the essence of the energy. Let go of any good or bad that comes up. Just try to be with that energy. Because we don't want to also know it, we don't only want to know it with the conceptual mind, but we want to know it with the whole body knowing. And heart, whole body and heart. Yeah, a lot of times you can notice what your heart is doing, feeling. And she says, this is a good way to discover that the klesha contains all the wisdom we need to wake up. And an unshakable confidence comes from knowing this, from feeling this. Some interesting things she talks about is a co-emergent unawareness or co-emergent ignorance is how we all come into this world. A co-emergent unawareness or co-emergent ignorance, which is a basic misunderstanding about how things are. A basic misunderstanding about how things are. And here we go. It's about, we believe we have some kind of stable identity that makes me, me, something that separates us from everyone else. And based on this misunderstanding, we find ourselves constantly getting hooked by the myriad pleasures and pains the world has to offer. Our mind gets completely wrapped up in kleshas and all the trouble that goes along with them. So in the Buddhist analysis of kleshas, the key element is clinging or holding on to them, these negative emotions, clinging to, holding on. And the teachings say that this painful process will continue until we wake up from our unawareness completely, until we see ourselves and all phenomena as they really are, fleeting, insubstantial, and wide open with possibility. So the term co-emergent ignorance is interesting because it implies that ignorance doesn't appear all alone. The Buddha taught that whenever there's confusion, there's also wisdom. Co-emergent wisdom. Whenever we get hooked, whenever our kleshas are triggered, whenever we temporarily lose our bearings and act out in destructive ways to others, to ourselves, we are in the grip of confusion. But that very confusion is inseparable from our deepest wisdom. And she gives a traditional analogy. Confusion and wisdom are like ice and water. Both are made of the same molecules. The only difference is that ice is frozen and water isn't. Isn't that a beautiful analogy? Ignorance and wisdom, the same molecules make that up. One is frozen and the other isn't. So she continues, confusion is based on having a frozen view of ourselves and the world. That's what we're trying to unfreeze when we practice not knowing. Sort of letting go of fixed ideas of the world or ourselves. And she says it's a product of our discomfort with the groundless nature of how things are, right? The absolute emptiness, right? We have no ground there. We're a little bit afraid. So anger, craving, jealousy, all the other kleshas are part of this discomfort. If we don't have effective means of working with them, they can ruin our state of mind and harm not only us, but the people around us. And this is why we learn to work with our emotions. And that's why this practice for me has been incredibly helpful in that regard, to give me the space and the ability to see that this emotion is not all of me. It's just a small part of me. Embodied, present, kind. The antidote to working with kleshas. All right. I have a few more things to say, but what is today? Friday. We'll continue where I left off, but in the meantime, we have some time for any questions or comments. And let's see, we should move that, maybe use the other microphone, and Hogetsu, for people who have any comments or questions about kleshas or anything. All right, let's see, well, here's this here.
I still don't understand that. Stay with the energy, but don't act on it. What does it mean? If I stay with the energy, I'll be punching people. So I guess it's not that I don't understand this.
Yes, so staying with the energy and not, reacting is you have to refrain from punching. You just have to refrain. So, so feeling the energy, noticing the story, letting go of the story, just breathing, pausing before you do anything except to feel embodied, present, what's the story, kind. That act is kindness, being with yourself and the emotion. I mean, we say to bear witness, right, all the time, but it's like, how do you bear witness to difficult emotions? Most of the times I want to run or distract myself, right? But these are great steps, what she's saying. Just open as if those negative emotions were a lover, someone you love, you're opening to them. And you may only be able to do it for half a minute. But each time you practice, it will get a little longer. Okay, 1 second. Okay, the next time it might be 2, and then you have to go do something, right? This is how you're starting to open and transform something, this energy that comes up for you. Because remember, the other side of the coin of that energy is wisdom. There is a wisdom there. Hard to believe, but have faith, right? And patience, right? Also, patience is a practice of a practice of perfection of bodhisattvas, the practice of patience. Because life throws you all kinds of curveballs. Oh, okay.
Again,
Martina.
I'm kind of at the start, of this journey. So maybe that's a basic question. But since being here actually and meditating more, I'm noticing that actually more emotions come up, and actually, like when I leave from here, it's like those difficult emotions, they come more often. And I was like, I'm kind of confused, like wondering, like, because you stay here in peace, letting go and, focusing, and I go out there and like, I do that, but I'm more aware of like I don't know, like if it's like now it seems too noisy or it seems too busy. I don't know. So I wanted to ask the question if that's like the part of the journey that meditation brings about, more of this awareness of emotions to actually then do the process of being kind and get that wisdom from them.
Good question, Martina. So you're just beginning this meditation journey, right? So this is a normal thing that happens for beginners. They notice, oh my God, there's so much going on up there. I didn't even notice. But it was probably there and you just didn't notice. So you're giving yourself this chance to observe your mind. And it is very busy. And so this practice is a way to help you kind of start to see what's going on. And you're letting go of the story. It doesn't mean that you're repressing the thought. You're just kind of noticing that they arise from who knows where. And then if you return to your breath and your breathing, and you're kind of changing your attention and it's letting it go, right? And yeah, there's a lot there. So then you'll start to notice, oh, so now I can try what Pema Chodron is suggesting as an antidote to working with this difficult, and it's not to get rid of them necessarily, but it feels to me that when the energy transforms, that wisdom arises, then some skillful action will arise to address some of the causes, maybe, and it could even be an internal kind of work on yourself, that why am I getting so upset about this? Why am I getting so angry? What is the need in me that's not being met here? So, right, you're trying to work on yourself more than other people. It's in shining the light inward. So patience, perseverance, effort, those are all practices of a bodhisattva. Perfections, practices of perfection. And that word perfection can mislead you into thinking that, you have to do certain things a certain way. The Buddha always said you have to try it and see if it works for you. If it doesn't work, then it's not needed at this time. But it is a practice.
Thank you. Thank you, June, Roshi June. As you were speaking, especially about the writing practice, I was thinking about a moment this morning during the service when we were chanting the identity of the relative and absolute. The line just popped out at me about do not judge by any standard. And this morning when we chanted it, it popped out, just was filled with light. And I want to write it down and put it above my meditation chair, because I think that's a profound instruction from the ancients. Do not judge by any standard. I think also I appreciate so much what you've shared in this talk. When I work with my emotions, I'm kind of a beginner at it, in that I I can feel the emotions. I know that part of the process, but then I wasn't aware that there's energy and wisdom in them if you transform them somehow. I tend to go the direction of repression, and yeah, so just the idea that there's something dynamic in those emotions that can give you more energy is very exciting to me, and like a new insight. So thank you.
And Pema Chodron was saying the translation of the feelings in the body for like confusion or anger, the negative, usually your body is tensing up in some way. So that's kind of a sign that, you know, things are negative. And then wisdom is more relaxed and more open. So that's a sign of wisdom. Your body is telling you, you just have to, you know, read body language. But I think that's pretty, you know, pretty understandable. I think pretty much people know that. But anyway. Yes, Genshin.
Good morning, Roshi. Good morning, Sangha. What's coming up for me, and thank you very much for just the gentleness in your teachings always. Dharma is just so soft when I hear it from you. It's just so tender. The practice of Lojong is I'm usually learning it that it's for others. Is there somehow, would that make sense, Lojong, in terms of jumping on that energy and transforming it with Lojong? Like,
You mean Tonglen? You mean Tonglen? Or
yeah, am I saying
the giving and receiving energy?
yes?
So what was that question?
Whether or not it's a practice to use on myself when I'm in that energy of an emotion, because I'm always learning it as others, but is that a good practice when go from the emotion, stay with it, take the energy to transform, but is that a practice to do that with? Because otherwise I'm like a runaway train. So I think it'd be helpful to have a practice in that moment to keep me steadied.
Right. And use your breath, Genshin. So on the inhale, you're going to inhale the emotion that's up for you, right? It could be anger, it could be fear. Inhale it. And trying to also have that beautiful image of, okay, here's my lover, you know, being open to whatever is arising here. And then, if you can, don't worry. And then breathe out that emotion into the vast blue sky. So again, inhale the anger and the sadness, and then breathe it out. Ungo.
Hi, Roshi. I really enjoyed the teaching. I know that some, sorry, that helped me understand this teaching was the difference between feelings and emotions. Feelings are what come up inside of us, and emotions are what we do with them and how we project them out or project them in some way or another. So it's I believe the transformation should be happening between the feeling and the emotion, where instead of emoting in a way that's not helpful, you're either not emoting or you're emoting in a way that is helpful.
Right. I know Roshi has talked about emotion. It has that word motion in it, right? It causes you to do something. So feelings for me is physical feelings, what your body is doing. Oh, I'm tightening up. Okay, I can see I'm really angry, right? The emotion of anger is arising. So, which is a feeling also. So I'm not, differentiating that so much, but you are working that energy, the energy, whether it's good or bad, is just energy. And so you're working by, I want to say embracing it, by being with, and then it can transform into something else. And so you can find out, you can try the next time something like that happens and see what comes up for you. What does it transform into? But don't be so stuck on that you have to be with what is too, and not distract going, ooh, I want to be there already. I've had it with here. It's a practice of courage. This is the path of a spiritual warrior, as Trungpa Rinpoche says. Because it takes courage to do this, to be with really uncomfortable feelings, not acting out, not repressing it, not distracting. Ooh, it takes courage, discipline, regular practice, meditation is helpful. So I am applauding all of you for coming to Sesshin. And we can work on this together. It's such a support for me. One more question.
About Tanglen. So I'm breathing darkness, exhaling light, or exhaling darkness again.
Exhaling light.
Light, yeah, that's how I was
Inhaling
thinking.
darkness, or inhaling that energy of what you consider bad. Remember, trying to get rid of those judgments, right? But the energy of anger, inhaling and out with.
I read somewhere about doing Tanglen for dead people to kind of help them go lighter, like help them, I don't know, like make them, I don't know how to explain.
Their journey smoother.
Right.
I know that's a practice, I think, for Tibetans to do, right? So any kind of, I'm not that adept with Tonglen practice, especially but I would think it would work for it, it does, that's what they do. So I'd say keep doing it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Prepare for lunch.